Hey everybody, Shay here. Welcome back. This is the introduction to the 6th episode of the Once Upon a Time Lapse sketchbook series that I did many years ago. And this one's very short because the Canon XLR decided to have a stroke partway through the beginning of my sketch, and you'll see it's like right at the beginning. That's the kind of stuff, shenanigans, this camera would do to me. And this is one episode away from when I finally gave up. I think there might have been one extra video in there, but I couldn't even stitch enough of it together to make sense of anything. But in any case, this one talked about ideation. It shocked me again hearing this because I didn't remember the content in these things until I revisited them. But this is important to me because today, this is like 5 years later, this is one of the most significant kind of pivoting points in my career right now, has all been about taking what is said in this minute and 47 seconds, and I've been exploring this at a very macro scale, at a corporation scale, and being relatively successful at it, and it's a mix of a couple things. It's a mix of me being able to, I'm trying something new by taking this idea of ideation. There's a bunch of methodologies out there you can use for how to create mind maps and all that stuff, which the video kind of touches on, but I mean, I can't go too deeply into these things because there's entire courses for these things, right? But the idea here is basically, how do you just get a brainstorm out of your head? And it goes back to one of the earlier sketch blogs, right? Which is just, you have a blank page. Okay, you just got to start. The problem is generally the starting. But I think where I'm starting to kind of bring success to these concepts is that I'm taking the idea of oral tradition storytelling, a narrative pattern design, I'm very aware of these kinds of two components, and take one of these much looser development methodologies. And so it's kind of marrying the left and the right brain together in order to sort of activate people so that they can just be unstuck, because a lot of corporate life is just kind of finding out you're zombieing your way through your career. Just a couple extra thoughts because the sketch vlog is going to be very short, and I hope you enjoy the video. On you go. I love doing that. And away you go. Okay, so stop. Hey everybody, XEI here for Once Upon a Time Lapse, and for this episode I want to talk a little bit about ideation and the creative process and what's involved in getting the brain active in the way that generates ideas. Part of ideation, whether this is for role-playing games or for your day job, brainstorming for me is about creating the foundations that's going to kickstart any sort of trajectory that I want to go in and explore. That usually leads to something called mind mapping, which I'll use yellow sticky notes, just really quickly jot down these ideas that connect with one another, where I see things going, and I let those things sit together on a board, on a wall, or whatever, and I try to find correlations. It all becomes very organic at that point. It might create a storyboard so that I can create the narrative through line between these ideas. But whether this is a role-playing game and I have a character concept in mind that I want to see through to the end, or whether this is a short story I want to write, or whether this is a web application I want to build, like the user journey, how someone interacts with this tool, be that Joe Smith, be that Jane Doe, and conceptualize how they might approach your tool and use it. That is a narrative, and that really comes down to getting in the mind of the subject that you want to explore. But ultimately it's about staying loose and being able to pivot whenever new ideas get thrown into the mix. Sometimes there are elements that you could never have expected when you started the brainstorm, when you started the mind map, when you started the role play. You never know when these things will hit you, and at the end of the day, it's never a bad idea to go with a random idea. You never know what you're going to get. So get on out there and let your mind free. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, folks. Talk to you soon. Peace, everybody.